What's going on, guys? It's been a while. Welcome back to another Division 2 build video. Today I want to share a build with you guys that might actually be one of the best armor regeneration setups for Year 8 Season 2. I know that's probably a bold claim because there are lots of great armor regeneration setups. However, when it comes to survivability and damage output, this build has a really nice balance and gives you the best of both worlds, so to speak. This is a really solid build for solo players because you're getting a great mix of survivability and damage, and thanks to the Memento backpack, you actually get stronger and tankier with every enemy you take down. On top of that, you're constantly getting bonus armor back, which makes it a lot easier to play aggressively without having to sacrifice too much damage. The Lexington already hits extremely hard with this setup, but once you start building up those Memento stacks, the amount of damage you can put out is honestly ridiculous. And once you're at full stacks, you're getting a huge amount of armor regeneration, along with a 30% increase in weapon damage, and you can easily maintain those bonuses. So you're basically stacking damage and survivability at the same time. If you're mainly a solo player, or you're just looking for something tanky without having to sacrifice too much damage, this could be the build for you. But before we get into the video, if you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is Prajna, and if you enjoy this type of content, drop a like and consider subscribing if you haven't already. Also, make sure to turn on all notifications so you don't miss the next upload. And stick around till the end if you want to see more gameplay footage of this setup in action. I'll show more after the breakdown. And with that being said, let's get into it. So, starting off with the primary weapon, we've got a prototype Lexington named Assault Rifle with the Killer talent. This is a great talent for boosting your damage, so essentially whenever you get a critical hit kill, you'll gain 70% critical hit damage for a duration of 10 seconds. There's no cooldown, so as long as you keep getting those crit kills, you can continuously refresh that 10-second timer. For the secondary weapon, this one is completely optional, so you can really run whatever you want. Right now, I'm running the Interchange, which is basically a named SMG with perfect back and forth, which gives you a nice boost to weapon damage and a rate of fire whenever you swap to it or swap back to your primary. So swapping to this weapon grants you a 13% rate of fire and a 12% weapon damage increase, while swapping away from it will give you a 5% rate of fire and a 4.5% weapon damage increase to your secondary weapon for 10 seconds. So this is a nice way to boost your damage output even further. So the idea is to swap to this weapon, get the buff, then swap back to the Lexington, and you'll have that extra damage and fire rate. And because the buff triggers both when you swap to it and when you swap away, you can pretty much keep that bonus going throughout the entire fight, so it isn't just a backup weapon, it actually becomes part of your damage rotation. For the sidearm, we've got the Quick Step pistol that comes with the Sport Mode talent, which gives you 20% movement speed. So this is great for mobility, and it can make repositioning between cover, rotating around groups, or even just getting from one side of the map to the other noticeably faster. So it's not doing anything for your damage, but if you want to get around the map faster, it's really helpful. You can get this gun from open event caches or from shared Houndsman bounties. For the gear, we're running 2 pieces of unit alloys, the mask, and a prototype salvo holster, which is basically a named unit alloys piece that comes with a rate of fire bonus. So you get 7.5% rate of fire as opposed to 5% from the high-end version. But what really matters here is the 2-piece bonus. So having 2 pieces of unit alloys equipped will give you a nice 20% added assault rifle damage, along with another 5% rate of fire. So that 5% actually stacks with the 7.5% you're already getting from the salvo holster, which gives you a pretty nice boost to your overall DPS. Next up, we've got 2 pieces of Golan gear equipped, both the chest and gloves, mainly for the armor regeneration bonus. You get 1.5%, which is pretty decent. The status effect bonus is irrelevant, however. And for the chest piece talent, Obliterate basically adds more damage to the build by granting you up to 20% increased weapon damage. You get 1% weapon damage for every critical hit you land. Now, for the knee pads, we're running 1 piece of Bellstone Armory to get the 1% armor regeneration bonus. So this is the second source of armor regen, so that brings us to 2.5%. Then we've got the final piece that brings this whole build together, the exotic Memento backpack. So Memento comes with the Kill Confirm talent. Every enemy you take down drops a trophy, and when you collect it, you get a short-term buff based on your core attributes, along with a separate long-term buff that stacks. So for every trophy you collect, you're gaining a stack that gives you extra weapon damage, extra armor regeneration, and skill efficiency, and it will last for 5 minutes up to 30 stacks total. But keep in mind that the duration will reset with each trophy that you collect. So just to clarify, you're essentially building up stacks with each trophy that you collect, so the more enemies you take down, the stronger and more resilient you become. So you're gradually compounding your DPS and survivability on top of everything else. So it's more like a snowball effect rather than a burst effect. This makes Memento a super viable option because it's one of the few pieces in the game that can boost your weapon damage, survivability, and skill performance all at the same time. For the global modifiers, I currently have mine disabled for the global event, but if you decide to run any, it will just make this setup that much stronger. For the specialization, we're running Firewall. This gives you access to the flamethrower, which is a nice option to have for those close range encounters since it can be used with the ballistic shield. But honestly, the real reason we're running Firewall is for the Striker ballistic shield damage buff. The Striker shield variant will boost your damage as well as the damage of any allies standing behind you based on how many enemies are in front of it. So instead of the shield just being a piece of cover, it's actually helping you deal more damage. And that's exactly the kind of scaling this build is looking for. We already have a great amount of survivability, so getting even more damage is always a good thing, right? And as you can see with the mods I'm currently using, I'm getting a total of 13% damage per enemy. The mods themselves are adding an extra 6%. For the second skill, we're running the Reviver Hive. This one is completely optional, but if you're playing solo, I definitely recommend using it. It can be especially useful when you're running escalation or heroic missions, just in case things go sideways and you end up going down. The Reviver Hive gives you a way to get yourself back into the fight instead of the run just being over, and if you're playing in a group, it can do the same thing for your teammates. On a build that's already this tanky, you probably won't need it very often, but when a fight goes sideways, having that safety net won't hurt and it can be a lifesaver. So, bringing everything together, here's what this build actually looks like in combat. You're going into the fight already with a huge 20% assault rifle damage bonus, an extra rate of fire from unit alloys, and the salvo holster before you've even fired a single shot. And at the same time, remember, you're getting those armor regeneration bonuses from Golan gear and Bellstone, gradually regenerating your armor in the background without you having to do anything. And with the exotic Memento backpack, you're getting even more armor regeneration and damage with each trophy that you collect. And if you want a little extra damage, you can swap over to the interchange, get your back and forth buff, and then swap straight back to the Lexington to keep that bonus going. And if you're getting overwhelmed by NPCs in a small area, or if you just want to play more aggressively, you can pull out your Striker Shield, get that damage buff, and go crazy. One thing worth remembering with this build is that a lot of its power is passive rather than reactive. And what do I mean by that? Well, you're not sitting there waiting for one big cooldown or trying to time one specific damage window. Instead, you've got a bunch of bonuses working in the background, like the armor regeneration from Golan and Bellstone, the Memento stacks, Obliterate, so on and so forth, right? And they all start compounding as the fight goes on. Now, that does mean you're not going to hit the same crazy burst numbers as some of the more aggressive stacking builds out there, but the trade-off is that you almost never have a moment where you're sitting there with nothing active, right? So rather than just having crazy burst damage, everything with this build is pretty well balanced out. Okay, this is Prajna. That'll do it for today's video. If you found this video helpful, make sure to drop a like. And thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate all of you guys. And of course, if you guys have any questions, feel free to leave them down for me in the comments. Also, if you want to be part of the Discord community, you're more than welcome to join. A link will be in the description, or you can just check the channel page. Okay guys, you already know the vibes. Keep it cool, keep it classy, and see you in the next video. Peace out.
Vital signs critical.